Hey up everybody, my name's Joshua Morrison, director of Johnny Moz's Lessons in Confidence, and today I'm in Ripley, which is in the Midlands of England, right? And been kind of wandering around, and we had a look at the estate agents, right? And the prices in these estate agents were still quite expensive, but a lot cheaper than London. They were sort of 2-bedroom house is about £700 a month to rent, compared to in London, where it would be something in the realm of about 2,000, 2,500 for the same sort of thing. And it made me think, what are you getting for that extra, what, £1,600 a month for paying for a 2-bedroom house in London? What do you get in London that you don't get up here? Well, what's up here? There's pubs, there's co-ops, there's Sainsbury's, there's Lidl's, there's community centres, there's charity shops, there's vintage markets, there's a market that comes around every Sunday. So the general basics of a community are here, and they're also there in London. You get vintage shops and you get charity shops and you get, you know, Ladbrokes and all these various sort of things. You kind of go around and there's a lot of new builds, there's a lot of council sort of things that have clearly been built post-war, so this place clearly got hit by the war in some capacity. Similar to London, there's an awful lot of shite architecture here, just the way there's a lot of shite architecture in London. So it's getting me thinking, what is there in London that you don't have up here? And the main thing I'm noticing is office space, commercial space of that kind of variety, particularly if you worked in some kind of modern tech company or something like that. There's absolutely nothing like that here. The most advanced sort of thing that you would get is probably a Lidl, and Lidl is fairly advanced compared to a lot of the stuff that's knocking around here. And that's not to slag the place off. I actually prefer, you know, a lack of new technology and all that sort of stuff. I went to do a coding course, believe it or not, about 3-4 years ago in Shepherd's Bush. And there was this kind of offshoot of Shepherd's Bush, which I can't remember the name of. It's not White City, but it's near that area. And I went in there and it was this huge labyrinth that looked like something out of Star Wars. These huge fucking oases of just white sheen all over the place with these big like walkways knocking about. And you go through all these different walkways and you'd sit down in this really slick, modern, very air freshened up kind of room, which sort of smelt like that new car smell permanently. And we did the coding course there. And that's the kind of thing that you wouldn't get up here in Ripley, or maybe in any other places around here. The biggest city in this area is probably Derby, which is probably about 20-30 miles-ish away from me. I can't remember the exact estimates. But that place, even then, is very similar to this. A lot of buildings that kind of look like that behind me. A lot of nightclubs, pubs, parks. There's bookies, there's charity shops, there's vintage shops, markets, stuff like that. So, I don't know. They say that apparently all of these kind of areas, apparently Derbyshire is one of the most deprived areas in all of Europe, which really, really worries me. Because I've been to Eastern Europe and it's pretty deprived over there. I mean, the minimum wage in Bulgaria was something like €3 an hour, and here it's something like £10 an hour, and we're somehow more deprived than them. The top 9 of the top 10 most deprived areas in all of Europe are in the United Kingdom, and this here is one of them. So this, as one of the most impoverished places, has house prices and rents that are somewhere in the realm of about £700 for a 2-bedroom house, which that seems to me like to be a complete rip-off, right? Considering it's one of the most deprived areas in all of Europe. Surely it should be something like £300, £400. £700, and we're kind of looking at it going, that's a good deal compared to London. Oh, that's a good deal, that. And I suppose technically it is because it's a lower price, but at the end of the day, it's still quite a lot for what it is. And it just really worried me that you can't even escape up north anymore to escape the house prices and just work from home on a little laptop. Everywhere is getting more and more expensive. Everywhere's catching up to London. Like, these are London prices about 15 years ago. And in 15 years from now, it's going to be what London prices are now, I presume, because it's not like we're doing anything to solve the housing crisis in this country. We're not building we're not building nearly enough new houses, so the housing crisis is just going to get worse and worse. So what's going to happen is house prices will go up and up because of the basic supply and demand, and all that's going to happen is People are going to get priced out of even these areas. And where they're going to move from one of the most impoverished places in all of fucking Europe? Or we're just going to all move to Africa? It will just be a reverse of the immigration crisis. I don't know. It really concerns me because I can't stay in London forever. I need to move up north at some point, or move out of London and go somewhere if I want to get a mortgage. London is not where I'm going to get a mortgage unless I somehow strike it extremely lucky with this YouTube channel and just every video does, like, you know, big numbers like 800, 900,000 views, because that would be a month's rent. If I could get 900,000 views on one video, that basically covers 1 month rent in London. And if I could do 30, 60 videos a month, right, and that's 60 times the rent, I could maybe get some decent living going on there. But that's obviously complete wishful thinking. I'm not expecting anything like that to actually happen. What I kind of hope to happen is if I can get some of my freelance work in order and I can just start working out my business plan for the next sort of year or so, then I can start making, you know, a decent bit above minimum wage. And if I can do that, then I can actually start making enough money to live properly and start getting myself onto the property ladder. That's what I want to do. And I'd love to live somewhere, not necessarily here in Ripley, but somewhere along these sort of lines, somewhere in the Midlands where there is more of a community spirit to a degree. I hear people in the pubs and they're all talking to one another, you know, but then that kind of thing does happen in London as well. So I don't necessarily know. There are pros and cons to the north and the south. Let's do a pros and cons list. First off, pros and cons of London. Pros, there's a lot of opportunities in the sense that, you know, like central London's right there, Blackfriars is right there, Canary Wharf, the business district's right there. There's a big music scene that's going on there with all sorts of different open mics and small venues and all that kind of thing. But cons, it's extremely expensive. It's got this sort of feeling like you're just another face in the crowd. There's some level of community, but you have to actively engage with the community. Otherwise, you're just going to be another person on the bus, just sat there with your headphones in, not talking to anyone. It's very easy to get lost in the crowd and feel very lonely, because they say that, like, the loneliest people are those that are surrounded by others but don't feel any connection to them. And it feels like as we get further and further along, and with this new technology and stuff, with phones and things, we're all sat on the bus like this. And I'm including myself in this. I'm part of the problem. It's doing this, scrolling, swiping, right? Headphones in, listening to music or podcasts or whatever. And it's always like podcasts about learning how to make money or how to get yourself up there into the world. We're all engaging with this content that's made to make us better people, whilst none of us are becoming better people. And having been here to Ripley, it got me thinking about where I want to be in the future. And it made me think I would love to stay in London, but I just don't think it's realistic. I really don't think it's realistic in the long term. I'm probably going to have to move up somewhere, not necessarily here, but somewhere along these lines. And it's a shame because I've got all my friends and my social connections and, you know, everything I've ever known is in London. I've born and bred in London, and I'm going to have to leave it all behind at some point. And I don't necessarily want to, but I'm going to have to. And that's just the be-all and end-all of it, really. I just found that it was interesting up here, looking at the house prices, because I remember saying to myself, oh, I could just move up north and it'd be so much cheaper there. And yeah, it is cheaper, but it's not nearly as cheap as I thought it was going to be. Yeah. I looked at it on Zoopla and Rightmove and stuff, and it was all quite expensive on there, but I thought, if I actually come here and I have a look at the house prices and the estate agent windows, it'll probably be cheaper than what is on the website, because they add a load of fucking, like, commission, and they probably bump the prices up for the online thing. But turns out it's still pretty expensive up here. Sorry. I've gotten a bit of a cough on because the hay fever season's changed and the weather isn't really helping me. And yeah, I don't know. It is a bit depressing up here, but at the same time, there is a community spirit that where people feel like they help each other out in ways that they don't quite do in London. Obviously, there is still a community spirit in London, but it's just not quite there. I don't know. Let's finish this off with the pros and cons of the north, from what I've gathered. Because this isn't my first time coming up here. I've been up here like a few dozen times to various parts of the Midlands and then further up north. let's see. Pros, there is that community spirit. There's cheaper prices overall, and in the shops and things are generally cheaper up here, like in the pubs. I managed to get a coffee for like £1.80, right? Whereas in London it would be like £3.50. Loads of like cheap charity shops and things like that. Last time I came up here, I got all these sort of like weird French type advertisement posters, like really old advert posters that look really nice. Pros, countryside is all over the place, nature's everywhere, you know. Like this is just one basic little park, but if you go beyond those trees, there's just loads of rolling hills and all that kind of stuff. And let's see, cons, everywhere can feel a little bit depressing, and it feels like the people are kind of stuck in their ways. Not in like, oh, they're from the past or anything like that, but just like, there's not as much opportunity here, and it feels like it's very easy to give up. There's less of an aspirational mindset up here. At least that feels so judgmental to say, but it's what I've noticed from the times that I've been here, is that I feel like I'm rushing through, rush, doing all sorts of stuff. But then they might say it's the other way around and it's a pro, that they're like contented and happy and like they don't have to move at 1,000,000 miles an hour like I do, right? So it's about how you see it at the end of the day. And con as well, I suppose, even though there is some nice architecture in various places, there is an awful lot of stuff that looks like that. And obviously you get a lot of that in London as well. And it's a different kind of new build. But these new builds, I don't really like, with these like brown bricks, like absolutely no color, no soul, no anything like that. That's what I mean when I say architecture in the UK isn't particularly great. Yeah, there's some old buildings that are nice, but whenever I go into Europe, I just feel like everywhere looks nice. And if there are some shitty parts, that's because they're those really bad copy-pasted new build sort of flats. It's not like huge expanses of this kind of thing, like what you get here in England, right? Scotland's got it a bit too, but it's not nearly as bad in Scotland. But in Scotland, they like to build everything out of grey bricks, like these giant concrete fucking slabs. And it makes an interesting sort of scene. Like Edinburgh looks really, really nice, but and it looks unique. And it looks kind of like a Gothic city, but it's also a very grey city, right? There's not much colour knocking about, and there's not much colour in England in general, really. And maybe that's what part of our pride is, our national pride. We don't need all this fancy-dancy colour, you know? I don't know. I just sort of looked at the house prices here, and it kind of got me thinking about all sorts of different things, and I'm trying to get my thoughts together in this video, and it feels like they're all a bit all over the place. And yeah, it's just what it is at the end of the day. The future is coming, and we can't do anything about it. The house prices will continue to go up. The government will continue to not do anything about the housing crisis. We will continue to complain about how ugly the buildings are. Because I don't see why we can't build new buildings and have them look nice, right? Why do we have to like put some fucking decoration on it? Make it look decent. Put some like culture into it. How much more expensive can that be, really, realistically? I don't know. We must be able to do something about it. Why can't I just run for governor or whatever, like just dictator of Britain and just solve all our problems? I'd do that. Yeah, what a great way to close the video with just my narcissistic rise to power. Right, that's going to be it from me. Thank you very much for watching, everybody. I'm not going to say I hope you managed to get something out of this, because I don't think you did. Let me know your thoughts on house prices in the UK. If you live in the north, do you think that my assessment of the UK is a complete southerner fucking fantasy? Do you think it's completely different to what I said? Do you think I'm kind of ignorant about it? Or, you know, if you've been to the north and the south, what do you make of it? What do you make of the comparison? Do you think that London is a right shithole, and everything I said about like London is kind of romanticising it? I don't know. What do you think about it all? Because there's a lot to say, a lot to think about it, and it's all worth discussing at the end of the day. So that's going to be it from me. Take care, and I'll leave it to you in the comments to have a discussion.